Hi, this is Mike. Today we're doing an F150 2018 3.5 liter Ecoboost with a dual turbo. On all the Fords, they have a factory, they have a little offset which puts everything in the center line. We actually cut them up right here, right at the after the Y. And what that does allows us to put the pulse chamber straight, put true dual exhaust on it, get rid of this offset. The factory goes from 3-inch down to this 2.5 inch with a resonator and this big factory muffler with a single tail. We're going to put true duals on this. On 3.5 Ecoboost with the V6, they have a unique sound. I always recommend putting a super turbo on it or something like that when you try to make them real aggressive, like with a Flowmaster or Street Flow or something like that. They have a unique sound. They have kind of that V6 sound. We've cut it. I've slipped our pulse chamber over. The reason I slipped it all the way up here, see how it offsets it? Now we got a straight shot down the chassis. I got it leveled. Here's a little welding tip for you. Because the heat shield's up here in the way, if you come back around here and look up over the top, you can see the weld all the way around it. But you got to do it from the front side. So that's a little tip so you don't try to fight this heat shield. Then when we weld our head pipes in, we're exposed here. So if you don't struggle, just go around the front, get between the heat shield, and you can see darn near all the way around it. So, okay, we're going to set this first head pipe. I put a little mark on the end of the pipe so I can slide it up in my pulse chamber without jamming it up in there. And then we look at our instructions. Pretty simple. 33.5 from the rear end housing to the pipe. So we're going to measure it out because we give you head pipes long enough for whatever style of truck. 33.5 is right next there. So we're going to mark it. We're going to trim it back in case this would have been a long bed or whatever. Well, I got our head pipe set in. We had it 33.5 from the rear end housing to the pipe. Slid my muffler over. And then there's a second dimension in there, which is 19.5 to the case. And the reason we have this dimension in there is if a guy has longer mufflers or shorter mufflers or whatever, and you don't know what your head pipe length, as long as you end up setting 19.5 to the edge of the case, you're golden. We slid our first muffler and we still had 19.5. We just installed our second head pipe, made everything match up side by side. Got them perfectly parallel. Spot weld the cases together, keep all the rocks and debris from falling down in between them. Do that front and rear. We got everything spotted. And now we're ready to install our right hand tailpipe goes first, and that'll set our elevation and get us all set up. We got our right hand tailpipe up in position. I'm going to just roll it up here. I've marked the inlet about 1.5 inches so I know how far I'm in the muffler. And we're going to do our tips. I don't want the tip to have a whole bunch of pipe in it, so I'm going to slide it on, position approximately where I'm going to have my tips. I'm going to trim off a little bit, trim off a little excess pipe here so it looks a little cleaner inside the tip instead of a whole bunch of pipe hanging in there. From the factory, Ford had 2 large mounts bolted here and here in order to support their flex pipe system they had underneath it. Well, since we eliminated the flex pipe, I unbolted them, and Ford was nice enough. I took the little clip nut out. Ford was nice enough. They provided a hole back here in the right rear or the left rear. So there's a factory hole. You can reuse that clip nut and bolt to bolt up this rear hanger. But right now we're going to put the mid support in, the exhaust system, which is located up here in the middle of the chassis. We put our axle pipe up in position. I'm going to take and put my tailpipe, slide it up here, and it is a little long, so I'm going to trim a little off the inlet, and I'm going to trim a little off for my chrome tip, you know. But I leave this a little long, 2 reasons. Sometimes you got to have a little adjustment up and down, and you can pivot it in and out. So we're setting our second side. We've got it all up in position. I spot welded it. Ford from the factory. All F150s have this big exotic loom that holds all these wires. We simply just take them off and disregard it. Tuck our wires all nice together. Give you a couple wire ties for that. You want to make sure you have a big fistful between your brake lines. You don't want to melt the brake line. And then we're going to put our 07 hanger up in this position where we move the tab from that frame rail to this one. And here's a fun fact. The reason I call these 07s is in 2007 we switched to this style hanger. Previous to that, we used different hangers. Well, after we started that in 07, welding them to the pipe, they started breaking. So that's why I call the little dog leg or kicker in 09. So we went to 09s, and we provide two. One for this side and one for that side, so when you look underneath, the hangers all match. We'll go ahead and get this all installed, and I'll show you what. Here's a review on this 3.5 liter Ecoboost. All the factory hangers on the right hand side. Used rod stocks. Our 07 hanger updated. Took off the two factory. Cut it all the way up here at the Y. Welded across the top. Moved her clipped over. Got all of our brake lines secured. Bolted it right back in the factory hole. And this gentleman's truck is ready to roll.